Top of the morning to you. Thank you for joining us and thank you for tuning in this great Friday morning. Today's Friday, the 19th of December 2025. Good morning. I hope you're well and the weather is doing you fine also. From our studio, it is 6:33 a.m. on a very cold Friday morning, I believe. From what the weather is saying, it's probably will be very hot in the day. The sun will shine as bright as it can. So let's dress the weather as much as we can. Also do that. My name is Ayo Emmanuel-Ojo. This is 89.3 FM, Wells Radio, your preferred wholesome radio, and your state's number one family radio station. Broadcasting live from Wells Broadcasting House along Alafin Avenue, Oluyole Estate, Ibadan, the capital of your state. Great morning to you. It is well in all areas. Thank you for joining us. This morning we have the Punch newspaper, the Guardian, and the Vanguard newspaper. From the three dailies, we're going to take the front page stories, and right after that, we dive straight into the body of the show for in-depth analysis to help us comprehend and understand what each of the headlines are saying better than we can ever imagine. We'll start with the Punch. On page 7, insecurity, Tinubu pledges state police to the US, European allies. On page 7, World Bank to approves $500 million loan for Nigeria today. On page 28, UTIDE NSA alert Govs to beef up security. On page 20, MTEF reps Senate disagree over crude oil benchmark on page 20. And on page 2 of the Punch, reps probe tax law tweaks. PDP demands suspension. The writer to the story says House raises 7-man ad hoc panel. Presidency once again sabotage, says tax law not anti-people. Reps probe tax law tweaks. PDP demands suspension. That story is on page 2 of the Punch. Senate confirms Fani Kayode Omokri's 60 orders as ambassadors on page 7. South African police shoot Nigerian man dead at traffic stop on page 4 and 5. And finally, on page 7 of the Punch, on the front page, court okays Malami's further detention by EFCC. Now let's move on to The Guardian. Hamid defends finances, welcomes probe of children's education funding. And on page 3 of the Guardian, Senate confirms 64 ambassadorial nominees on page 3. And on the same page, PDP Caretaker Committee dissolves 14 state ESCOs, fixes January for congresses. On page 4 and 5, when pained of reforms, old scars, hound new tax era promises. On page 4 and page 5. And on the front page of The Guardian, we have this plane looking like it's not in a good condition. The cartoon, by the way, with inscription on it, the new tax law. And of course, someone on the other side saying, we'll have this off the ground in on time. Will we have this off the ground and in on time? That's what the front page cartoon is looking like. On page 6, fresh nationwide defections. Its 2027 balance as APC tightens its grip. 6 ex-PDP governors attend as Tinubu hosts APC caucus in Aso Villa on page 7. The ex-Labour Minister Ngige gets bail in alleged 2.2 billion fraud charges on page 7. On the same page, federal government resigns decision to reopen 47 federal unity colleges. Barricade Ladi attack death toll rises to 14. And finally, Yusuf commends Tinubu benching over 47 billion Wuju Wuju Road in Kano. Now let's come straight to the Vanguard. Oil sector, far-reaching reforms come in. Ayesan Mohammed vows. Uncertainty as NAF aircraft departure to Portugal after release in Burkina Faso. Electoral Act reps back 2-year jail term, 5 million fine for vote buyers. That sounds good. Hopefully it will be implemented. We will drive digitalization, enforce contracts, restore investor confidence. Tinubu's new NUPRC, NMDPRA CEOs explain. All right, while taking that headline, something just comes to mind of the street word you go explain tire. Hopefully you have evidence this time. The police ACP rather, slums died during meeting in Ebonyi. PSC promotes 1 DIG, 7 AIGs, 13 CPs, 30 DCPs, and 724 others DG. Jurisdiction role stall Alabama market eviction case. Scores injured as tanker explosion rock Auchi. That's in Edo State. Akpabio backs death penalty for kidnappers, hails Tinubu's kidnap rescue fit, and pledges block vote for 2027. 2027, FCT Monarchs assures Tinubu of support, hails Wike over infrastructural development. And that's all we can take on the front page segment of the show. We say thank you for joining us this morning on Perspectives Unlimited. Let's know and let's understand better what's happening in Nigeria. I'll be right back in a moment. Stay with us.
I don't know why, we should continue to allow, some corrupt government officials to try and destroy a whole sector of the economy. And I think it is something that when you look at it, I've had actually people making complaint about a regulator who has actually put his children in secondary school, and that secondary school education, which is 6 years, 4 of them cost Nigeria $5 million. I mean, you cannot imagine somebody paying $5 million for educating 5 children. Even my own children, they didn't go to those schools. My children went to Nigerian secondary school. They didn't go outside Nigeria to attend to secondary school. I don't know about your children, Tony, but mine, yes. So, and this is a system that, some of us, because what, we're taxpayers. When people are complaining, we also complain, because the issue is that, yes, when I pay tax, I want to see that my money is being put to use, not to be stolen. But today, as we speak, the ACE, I don't know what is the, that is the authority chief executive, Malam Farouk. Malam Farouk has 4 of his children that he educated in Switzerland at the cost of $5 million for their secondary school education alone, not university. And I know that one of them just finished Harvard. So I want to now see what kind of system are we operating that, people are now busy destroying a country, taking money from the government. Because when you look at his income does not match paying this kind of fees. I think even if it's me paying $5 million for 6 years for my 4 children, the taxman has to look at my taxes, how much I paid. And really, this sort of thing, we're not going to allow it to continue. We'll take it up to the highest authority so that they will look at it. People who have done something wrong must be prosecuted. It must be prosecuted, because there is actually no way where somebody will now come. I mean, today, from where he comes from, Sokoto, people are struggling to pay 100,000 naira for school fees of secondary school. And a lot of children are at home, not going to school because of 100,000 naira. Tony, can you pay these fees?
All right, welcome back to the program, and thank you once again for joining us. Welcome. If you're just tuning into radio this morning, this is 89.3 FM, Wells Radio, your preferred wholesome radio. Alafin Avenue, Luyole Estate here in Ibadan, the capital of your state, is where we're broadcasting from. We welcome you to our newspaper report program, Perspectives Unlimited, where we get different views in on happenings in Nigeria. My view is not your view, and your view is your view. And with us in the studio this morning for in-depth analysis on the stories that time can permit us to take, Mr. Olali Kosoni joins us today. Good morning to you, and happy Friday.
Thank you very much, Chief. It's great to be here this morning.
How are you doing? It's like you have cold?
I do have cold.
Yeah, Ekwele.
Sure.
I think it's the season.
Yeah, it is.
It's the season. We'll be fine. Let's take a look at Nigeria in the last 5 days or 6 days, I would say. And of course, the biggest shakeup is that one of Aliko Dangote. Of course, there are too many big issues in Nigeria, but if you ask me to rate it, I think I'm just going to rate that. And Nigeria, 1 week, one story. By next week, something else will come up again. And hopefully, maybe Farouk is going to be fine. And he's just going to move on. Hopefully, if Dangote is not using the same strategy. But let's look at all that Alhaji Aliko Dangote is up to lately, especially with what I call a big call out. You know, when they say, I'm going to call you out, this is like the greatest of them that I've seen. It's a proper call out that needs a press conference, you know, to do, and stating, well, some facts and possible figures. This man in question now, that will be the former CEO now, because he has then since resigned, Farouk Hamid. Would it be the first of civil servants probably living beyond their paycheck or their means? Maybe not. But let me get your view in on this Dangote Farouk drama, which a lot of people says, well, it's beyond the interest of Nigeria. It's probably because something is not working between them both anymore, and one is then showing the other that I am stronger than you are. What is in this? What is all of these for when it concerns Nigerians? Should Nigerians be excited? At least we're seeing that someone is swallowing all our money, and then this person is being called out. And what do you expect the government to do in possible prosecution after doing the investigation? Of course, at the moment, it's still alleged. But do you believe Dangote? Maybe I start with that.
The truth of the matter is that neither Dangote nor Ahmad Farouk was and is working in the interest of the people of this country. The truth of the matter is that the two of them are out to protect their personal interest, and that's it. Dangote is operating, doing exactly what Farouk was doing when he was, in charge of NMDPRA. Dangote is operating in the private sector, while Farouk was operating in the public sector. The two of them are not kind to us, and I'll tell you why I'm saying this. There is no way to justify you being a civil servant and being able to afford $5 million for secondary school education for your children. There is no way you can prove that. As far as I'm concerned, someone like that should not just go home. I think someone like that should go to the EFCC. It should be profiled. Everything about him should be dusted. And not just that, you need a comprehensive audit of that agency since the time he became the head of the agency, which was in 2021. if I am not mistaken, going by the way that we usually do things in our country, Mr. Ahmed Farouk is now a free man because he was sacked. He shouldn't have been sacked. That's the truth of the matter. He should have been suspended. I mean, he shouldn't have access to that office whatsoever. But he will remain the head of the agency being suspended while someone else comes on board. Comes on board. And the reason for that is that if you sack him, it's just like, go home, I don't have anything to do with you again. You can't do what Dangote has alleged that you have done, and the worst that will hit you is to go home. Rather, shift aside. Let someone come in. Then we now audit the activities of the agency since you became the head. That is what is going to tell us if you have actually been fleecing our money or not. But now I think he has been slapped on the wrist. Oh, you shouldn't have done that. Go home. I mean, we're talking about serious amount of money here. $5 million is no joke. That is 7.5 billion naira. And the truth of the matter is that if you can afford to burn 7.5 billion naira on the education of your kids, not even the total education, just a phase out of 3. There is primary, there is secondary, there is tertiary. Just secondary education of your kids, 7.5 billion. Okay, how much exactly do you have to play with? In terms of total figure that this guy has within his control. That's number one. And Dangote said something again that he was preparing to pay 250 billion naira to some marketers who had some shortfalls. The truth of the matter is that there is too much laxity. There is much too much laxity in the workings of some government agencies such that they can decide to burn money without anybody saying, oh, no, you can't do that. I understand that a certain government agency or so is owing up to 6 trillion naira. I'm not talking about NPC here. I'm talking about a regional body, a body that was designed to take care of a certain region, now owing 6 trillion. How exactly did that happen? I mean, there is much too much financial laxity that common sense cannot explain. Now for Dangote. Dangote did something that should make all of us scream. And that is when he said he was going to reduce the price of fuel from his depot by 129 naira in just one go. That means that you have been overcharging us by at least 129 naira in the past. That's just the truth of the matter. Ahmed Farouk gave out licenses to private investors to bring in fuel. It should be stated that Dangote himself often brings in things from outside of the country. And I'm talking about crude oil. I'm talking about, things that are almost as similar as fuel, usable fuel. So it's not a big deal. It's not a crime to bring in things. Ahmed Farouk said, guys, bring in things so that we can complement what this guy is producing. I can say with my full mouth, Dangote alone cannot supply Nigeria every day. It's not possible. It doesn't have the capacity. 650,000 barrels.
That seemed to be different from what Dangote would, his portrayal to the public. So the refinery is more than capable.
Ahmed Farouk said something before. He was, they have been having this off and off for many months now. At a particular point in time, Farouk said it in the presence of everybody. Ahmed Farouk, I am telling you, Aliko Dangote, that your refinery is not more than 45% capacity. Tell us it's a lie. Dangote didn't say anything back. He said there's a particular catalyst in the refinery that was not even working as of then. That most of what he was selling to Nigerians, were things being imported from outside of the country. And Dangote couldn't say no. Where I'm driving out here is that if Farouk Ahmed had not issued that license, most certainly Dangote would still have been selling fuel to us ex-gantry, meaning like ex-gantry, like ex-depot price from his own place at the rate of 828 naira. Import licenses came, and Dangote said that he just had to reduce this so that he can compete with these people. And at that particular point, he removed a whooping 129 naira in just one sitting. That tells us that he also needs to be investigated and prosecuted. You cannot say that because you are a businessman, then you are free to fix the price of your commodity, especially if it is an essential commodity. You can't do that. It is against the law.
So let me ask you this question: Do you think PMS should be cheaper than
It should be
even the current amount?
It should be much cheaper than the rate we are buying it right
even
now.
the reduced price that Dangote just rolled up.
Yes. The biggest determinant of the price of petroleum products generally is the price of crude oil. When Dangote started, he was selling at the rate of, if I'm not mistaken, $6.25 per liter from his own refinery. And then the price of crude was around $75, $77. The price of crude today is around $59. We shouldn't be anywhere near $699 that he is selling to us. It shouldn't be selling more than anything, let's say 500. That is, even if we don't want to investigate that much. If we really want to, investigate everything from A to Z, I don't believe it should even be up to 500. So these are the issues. You cannot bamboozle me that, simply because you have a refinery that the government couldn't do, then you deserve to, cut off our heads in the name of exploitation. No. It's not making sense to me. I have been saying something all along that I support a situation where we are going to have many players in the system. If we have many players in the system, everybody's going to compete against everybody. At a particular point in time, it's not going to be news should people say, let me even bring my price further down. Knowing too well that Ahmad Farouk issued import licenses to some people and he lost his job. The new guy there will most certainly not issue import licenses. What happens to Nigeria at that particular point if we are left to Dangote alone? Looking at what he did with the sugar pricing mechanism, looking at what he did with the cement pricing mechanism, if we are not very careful, we may end up buying a liter ex-depot at 1,500. And should that happen, on the street, it's going to be 1,800, 1,900, which I do not support.
If not 2,000.
For me, let NMDPRA issue as many licenses as possible. A lot of people believe that, if you are importing, then you are not doing well. It is a lie. I said something yesterday, I'll say it again. Saudi, US, and Russia, they have the capacity to produce more than 10 folds of whatever Nigeria is producing in terms of crude daily. Yet, these guys import like tomorrow is not going to come. Dangote exports to the US, despite the fact that US produces more than 13 million barrels of crude every day. He exports to, I can tell you free of charge that at some point he exported to Saudi Arabia. And when it comes to crude production, Nigeria is nowhere near Saudi Arabia.
Let me ask you a question that a lot of Nigerians have been begging for answers. How many barrels of crude oil
I can't answer
do we
do
we produce per day?
No, I can only tell you what they tell us officially. And even at that point, there have been conflicts between the NNPC and the NUPRC. NUPRC is upstream. They deal with crude oil. NMDPR is downstream, marketing generally. NUPRC at some point told us that Nigeria was producing 1.5 million barrels per day. The NNPC told us it was 1.8. So if there is, conflict between two,
all we know is that it's between 1 point something. That's fine.
I know. Before we end this topic, 10 years ago, or should I say 12 years ago, officially Nigeria was producing 2.3 million barrels per day, and we have spent so much money on, expanding exploration frontiers. You would expect that we would have at least gone by 50% more than what we were doing then. But somehow they told us that we have gone down by, at some point maybe 1 million barrels. Wow. So everything is not making sense.
A lot.
That is why I said I can answer that question.
Let's go to the Vanguard. We will drive digitalization and force contract to restore investor confidence. Tinubu's new NUPRC and NMDPRA CEOs. All right. In the news this morning, the Senate on Wednesday screened nominees for the position of the executive officer of the new key oil and gas regulatory agencies. That's the NUPRC and the NMDPRA. The screening followed a letter by President Bola Tinubu, read at the plenary by the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, seeking the confirmation of Mrs. Orishe Miyewa And the Chief Executive Officer of NUPRC Engineers, Saudi Mohammed, as the Chief Executive of the NMDPRA. Agisong was nominated to head the upstream regulator, while Mohammed was nominated for the midstream and downstream authority following recent changes in leadership of both agencies. Barely 24 hours after the changes, President Bola Tinubu forwarded the names of the nominees to the Senate for the legislative approval. And during the screening conducted, the Senate Committee on Petroleum Resources, the nominee pledged to implement far-reaching reforms anchored on digitalization, strict enforcement of contract, restoration of investor confidence, and accelerated gas development under the Petroleum Industry Act. Two questions here. Nigerians, I saw that on X yesterday, the speed at which changes were made, barely 24 hours, thereabout. And of course, the promises made by this new senior executive in that industry as to should we be excited at that? We've heard bigger, if not better, promises from other, nominated officials in time past. The speed of the change and, of course, the promises, most especially of digitalization. It will be worrisome to know if operations in that sector still work on analog. We're going to look at that and more when we come back right after the break. It is still Perspectives Unlimited on Wells Radio 89.3 FM. We will be right back. Stay with us.
How long will it take you to confirm payment? I have been waiting for the past 1 hour.
I'm so sorry. I will just run out of data.
Same excuse yesterday. It is unacceptable, please. You better switch to One Data Internet Service.
One Data?
Yes, One Data. One Data is an internet service provider with the best alternative and solution for unlimited speed. One Data provides fast and reliable internet service to organizations, homes, and places of interest in Nigeria. With One Data, you get to enjoy the premium internet service with dedicated unlimited internet speed at all times, 24/7 fantastic customer service and support, and you enjoy a 1-month free subscription when you make payment. Now is the time to say goodbye to downtimes. Sign up with One Data today on 0811 223 2671 or visit www.onedata.ng for more inquiries. One Data, unlimited speed.
The Financial Services Regulation Coordinating Committee, FSRCC, in collaboration with the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, wishes to draw the attention of the public to the activities of illegal financial operators, IFOs, which threaten public trust and the stability of the Nigerian financial system. The general public is hereby advised to refrain from dealing with unlicensed financial operators who deceive individuals with unrealistically high investment returns. Verify the licensing status of such schemes on these websites: www.cbn.gov.ng, www.nicom.gov.ng, www.pencom.gov.ng, www.sec.gov.ng, www.fsrcc.gov.ng. To report any suspicions of illicit financial activities, call CBN 0817-665-7060, 0707-338-4828, SEC 0209-462-1168. Announcer, FSRCC.
Christ Ambassadors International College is a private, co-educational Christian day and boarding school located at Alafin Avenue, Oluyole Estate, Ibadan. We offer a blend of Nigerian and British curricula designed to nurture global leaders with godly values. With world-class facilities, exciting co-curricular programs, exceptional pastoral care, and outstanding academic results, we ensure your child's dream becomes a reality. Our entrance examination for 2026-2027 academic session will hold on Saturday, 14th February 2026 at 8 a.m. For inquiries, please call 0704-530-8414 or 0814-177-2806 or visit www.christambassadorscollege.com. Christ Ambassadors International College, nurturing global and godly scholars.
Family is not defined by blood, events, headlines, or frequencies. It is our shuffled feet in the busy streets, the levity of the birds upon the brown rooftops, indigenous, nuclear. The blue sky coming to greet us on a sunless morning, safe, clean, wholesome, somewhere between truth and fiction. Wells Radio 89.3 FM Oluyole Estate, a gallery built from mere words of culture, heritage, music, brush strokes visible on an artwork, the rhythm of repetition. Family is not defined by blood, it is togetherness, heirlooms in diaspora, with open arms to embrace through thick and thin. This home, your family, this radio is your radio. My name is Jesse Joba Isaac. I will keep listening to Wells Radio 89.3 FM.
From the heart of Ibadan, we rise each day, spreading love and light in every way. News and music, talks that heal. Wells Radio's vibe is real. Wells Radio, oh yeah, your preferred host radio. We can, the number one for every home and soul. In Ibadan, we play the leading role. Wells Radio, we keep it whole. Oh yeah, oh.
Welcome back to the program. Perspectives Unlimited continues on Wells Radio 89.3 FM. It is time to bring in your views on stories in Nigeria today, especially the ones that we have been able to touch on this morning on the program. 0916-893-1000, 0915-334-893, and 0911-333-893. You can go through or listen to us and then pick any of the stories that you would like to comment on and then call the studio to share your thought. Before the break, we took the headline, "We will drive digitalization and false contracts to restore investor confidence." Tinubu's new NUPRC and MDPRA CEOs explain. And of course, before that break also, I mentioned that barely 24 hours after the changes, President Tinubu forwarded the names of the nominees to the legislative for approval. The speed and of course the promises, especially that of digitalization, it brings the concern of what's up with digitalization. You mean that organization or industry has been operating on analog procedure before now? Let's bring in our analyst to weigh in on that. Yes, your view on this.
Can I ask you a question?
I'm not sure I can answer, but hopefully our listeners will be able to answer.
If you were there yesterday and they said, "Oh, Mr. Ayo, please, what exactly are you going to do in the new agency that you are about to head?" Won't you say something? You will say something. I still have that video. Mele Kyari's inaugural speech when he became the group head of the NNPC. I am going to bring transparency into the NNPC. I will make sure that each and every drop, not barrel, of Nigerian crude is accounted for. These are the things he was saying. He even said that he was going to make sure that of the 4 refineries the Nigerian government owns, that he was promising that he was going to be reviving one each year. All I put at the end of the day. This is just normal rhetoric. This is what I was expecting them to say, and I wasn't disappointed. All glowing promises and all of that. But when it comes to implementation, then it becomes, it's not that straightforward. You cannot understand some things. Ben, what is it that you cannot understand? So, I'm not moved. I'm not bothered. I would rather wait for when they start to implement their strategies and plans. That is when I will understand if Nigeria has turned the corner or it's still the same path that we are still on. But for me, this is the usual thing.
How about the speed?
No, he even named, the former head of NMDPR, Ahmed Farouk, went to the president on Wednesday, and later the same day, what we heard was that the two of them had resigned, and that the president had already named their successors. And these agencies are very, very crucial to the Nigerian economy. They cannot be left without heads. If the president had said that, okay, you are suspended, or let the most senior officer take over, and that's a different ballgame. But the president doesn't want that. Rather, he wanted to bring his own people, which he has done already. The National Assembly has, the Senate, I should say, has approved their appointments, and they are there already. There are so very many people you can call up at any time to say, oh, go and head that place, go and head that place. I mean, the times are hard. Not many people are going to say no. As far as I'm concerned, should he sack those two today and he wants to replace them, trust me, people are even going to fight before they can
get in there. Let's go to the point. Reps probe tax law tweak. PDP demands suspension. The House of Representatives on Thursday constituted an ad hoc committee to probe the alleged discrepancies in the tax reforms passed by the Parliament and the official gazetted copy currently in circulation across government agency. This was as the PDP demanded that the federal government further shift forward by 6 months the 1st of January 2026 takeoff of the new tax law. The opposition party said the shift became important following an alleged illegal alteration made into the law passed by the National Assembly. The PDP added that a 6-month shift would allow for sufficient enlightenment campaigns on the new act. President Bola Tinubu recently signed 4 major tax reform bills into law, marking what the government has described as the most significant overhaul of Nigeria's tax system in years. The laws include the Nigeria Tax Law, the Nigeria Tax Administrative Act, the Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Act, and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Act, all operating under a single authority, the Nigeria Revenue Services. All right, the PDP is calling for a shift by 6 months of the takeoff of the new tax law, and of course, also mentioned that these would allow for sufficient enlightenment campaigns on the new act. Let's start with enlightenment, as this is the media, and that's very important to us. Do you think the Nigerians still need some time to be enlightened or educated, so to say, on the new tax law before we talk about the PDP and their demands?
The truth of the matter is that we have been here since, if I'm not mistaken, May. The National Assembly approved the bill and made it an act. Oh, it was still a bill until the president assented to it since May. If there is any enlightenment that they are capable of doing, you would expect them to have done it already. They have had over 6 months to do that, and it's still bad at blue. If you give them another 6 months to do that, most certainly money is going to come out of the government government accounts, and it's still not, thank you very much, it's still not going to be anything tangible. For me, it's not about enlightenment at this particular point. It's more of confusion than enlightenment. And I'll tell you why I'm saying this. The Federal Inland Revenue Service, which is the agency of government saddled with the responsibility of managing taxes and all of that, came out to say that you do not need tax identification number before you can operate your bank account, which I believe is what common sense says. With your BVN, they can know your NIN. With your NIN, they can know your BVN, and it's the same for your TIN. Everything is linked. Guess what? Someone who, in my opinion, at this particular point is an interloper, he doesn't have any designation. Taiwo Yedele said that, no, you must have TIN before you can operate a bank account. Confusion. Taiwo Yedele was drafted by the president to write the tax bill. The moment the president assented to that bill and it became an act was the moment Taiwo Yedele should have disappeared. But rather, he is ever present, creating confusion and all of that. For me, the biggest news out of this week is not even Dangote and Farouk. Each of them have been having that drama for ages, and that's not in our own interest. They're only fighting for their personal interest. Like Dangote said, when Farouk issues licenses, the beneficiaries of those licenses bring in so much to him that he can afford to send his children to Mars to go and do extracurricular activities and all of that. But for me, the biggest news out of this week is the idea of tweaking, like the National Assembly passed a particular law, and when it was about to be gazetted, something totally different was gazetted. I have never heard of that since 1999 in the history of, in fact, in the history of Nigeria. I have never heard of it. At that particular point, we can as well say we do not need a National Assembly again, which is nonsense. We do need a National Assembly. And in fact, I am proud of the House of Representatives. When the House of Representatives was, when the President brought the bill to the National Assembly, he said contribution to VAT is going to take a very, very large chunk. That means that you want to empower Lagos at the detriment of other states of the Federation, which is totally wrong. It shouldn't be. I should say that contribution is not just coming from Lagos. You and I, we use our phones to do transactions, we do all of that. But when they want to calculate the VAT, simply because the head office is in Lagos, they are going to say that transaction is coming from Lagos, and the VAT from it is going to go to Lagos. When in reality we are in Ibadan, somewhere in Sokoto, that doesn't make sense to me. For many of these bank and telecoms guys who work in Sokoto, Zamfara, everywhere, they are still paying their payee to Lagos. If we're talking about tax reforms, it should be about your payee should go to the state where you are domiciled. But instead, the president is saying everything should go to Lagos. And thankfully, the House of Representatives said, no, that cannot stand. Rather, let's focus on equity, population, then contribution, which makes a lot of sense to me. I did clap for them. I did clap for them in this studio when that happened. That's number one. Number two, the law they passed said that the NRS can investigate. FRS is going to become NRS. They can investigate even without prompting. If they feel like something is wrong, they have the power to investigate, but they do not have any power to arrest. They will have to go to court before that can happen. Not just that, they cannot dip their hands into your account and say, oh, this guy has refused to pay his fair share of taxes, and siphon money from your account. But in what was gazetted, the NRS has the power to go straight into your bank account. They have the power to arrest you without recourse to rule of law, 24 hours, whatever. That is nonsense. I have never seen anything close to that in my entire life. In all seriousness, it is, as far as I'm concerned, an act of treason.
With all of this, do you think we should... would you go by the call by the PDP?
For me,
to shift this by 6 months.
Minimum of 6 months, if not 1 full year. We now need to check everything. Section by section, subsection by subsection, paragraph by paragraph.
Do you think this is a mistake, or
it couldn't have been a mistake?
And
it
an intentional act by
it. As far as I'm concerned, it is an intentional act designed to make Nigerians suffer. I was going through one of my, confidential sources, and sometimes they do go public. SBM Intelligence, they said something. They are not based in Nigeria, but they follow what is happening in Nigeria. They said that by their understanding of the Tax Act and the content thereof, it is very, very likely that Nigeria will experience violent protests next year. By the time the implementation begins, Nigerians are not going to be able to bottle it. They just have to explode. I don't want that. I don't like violence. I don't want violent protests in my country. I support peaceful protests, but violence, no. Should that happen, the biggest loser is going to be the government. If they don't want that to happen, they know exactly what to do. Alt implementation. Sit down side by side with the legislature. What exactly did you pass? And at that particular point, the president, maybe they will have to pass the bill again. Then the president will not have to assent to it again, because what the president assented to is not what came from the National Assembly. So everything is upside down. You don't need to be a professor of law before you know that should you go to any court, the court is going to say, halt implementation for now, because there are two different things. A is what the National Assembly approved, B is what the president signed. And the two of them, if they are not in total conformity, cannot stand.
0916-893-1000, 0915-333-4893. and 0911 333 893. Again, 0916 893 1000, 0915 334 893, and 0911 333 893. The studio line to call and join the conversation this morning on the show. Electoral Act reps back 2-year jail term, 5 million naira fine for vote buyers and sellers. The House of Representatives has approved far-reaching amendment to the Electoral Act, introducing stiffer penalties for vote buying and selling, including a minimum of 2 years imprisonment or a 5 million fine, or both, alongside a 10-year ban for contesting elections. The decision was taken during the clause-by-clause consideration of the report by the House Committee on Electoral Matters at the Committee of the Whole, presided over by the Deputy Speaker, Benjamin Kalu. Under the amendment, Clause 22A and C, individuals involved in buying or selling a vote and voter cards now face significantly tougher sanctions than previously provided, where penalties were capped at 500,000, a minimum of 2 years imprisonment. Are you excited by this?
Yes, I am. The House of Reps, as far as I'm concerned, is doing very well. Not very well, but at least fairly well. The Senate, a big disappointment in my opinion. Look at what the House of Reps is talking about. Number one, electronic transfer of results is now a must. What that means is that should you gather at a particular location to cast your vote, after doing that, the electoral officer in charge, the presiding officer is going to append his or her signature to the form EC8A. All the party agents are going to do the same. Another particular point to transmit it straight into HiNex server, HiRev. And unlike 2023, where it was not compulsory, now it is compulsory. And what that means is that it can be taken to court.
Let's take this call. Hello, good morning to you.
Hello, good morning. Hi, Chief AY.
Good morning, Benga Byro. Thank you for calling.
Thank you very much. Let me speak about this between Farouk Lawal and Dangote. See, so many things went underground that Nigeria doesn't know about. And recall that this agency, headed by Farouk, was responsible for checkmating. I think there's a department under him that is called DPR. And DPR will always go to filling stations to check if what the filling stations are selling out, they are selling out the actual liters of their PMS to Nigerians. And for a while now, I can't recollect the last time we saw DPR moving now to checkmate those filling stations. Do you know what they do now? The filling stations will gather money and they will be going to these offices and be rolling out thousands of naira, even millions to them. So that is making the filling stations to sell at any prices they wish. And recall, one of the problems Dangote was having with that agency was that this guy, Farouk, he gives out licenses to some marketers to disrupt the activities of Dangote. Even such that they come with, allegedly, let me say, put it that way, allegedly they will come with millions of naira and give it to those guys. And thereby those guys are making billions of naira, even in billions. I did a calculation of the $5 million that the guy was using in sponsoring the education of the children, and it ran up to trillions. So how on earth does that guy have an access to that? So, and what baffles me is that this guy went to meet Mr. President in the pillar, and by the time you see them singing on your mandate, which has done Mr. President, then you will see Mr. President releasing the guy, as in telling him he has no sin on him. Hello, are you with me?
Yes, we're with you. Go ahead.
Yeah, you see Mr. President telling him, by the time this guy begins to sing on your mandate, which has done, then they will be telling the guy, don't worry, go, because you have no sin on you. And look at this guy again, the former minister for, I think, science and technology, that was having a certificate issue as well. Alolagbo Agbabo. This guy went to meet Mr. President again, and he resigned peacefully, and nothing happened. See, when we have this injustice in the country, it saddens our heart. Look at Ngige. Ngige, the former Labour minister, was apprehended by the EFCC. He was grieved. He was detained in Kuje prison. And yesterday, when APC were having their inner caucus meeting, Ngige was still there. Somebody who was coming from prison, who ought to be, I don't know. It was so you can see the corruption in this country is stealing.
All right.
Anyway, let me stop it there.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you so much, Wingamara. Thank you so much for your contribution this morning. We're on the story of the death sentence and the likes.
Yes, not that. I mean, punishment like
Punishment
2 years
and 2 years
stuff
and
like
the
that.
likes. Yeah.
They said, number one, electronic transfer is a must. Number two, should there be overvoting in any particular polling unit, the presiding officer of that polling unit is going to be prosecuted. And I like that. It's not just that it's going, in the past there was room for prosecution, but it did not tell us which agency is going to prosecute. So that left a lacuna. Now we know that INEC is going to do that. That's number two. Number three is that should you present forged certificates, you will either go to jail for 10 years or pay 75 million. And I like that. I mean, these are things that will, at least to some point, clean our electoral space. And I am all in support of anything that is geared towards transparency and accountability. And for that, once again, I applaud the House of Reps.
Are you bothered about execution? Like Chukwemeka would say, we don't have problem with laws. Even if it's the current Nigerian constitution, if we follow it to the letter, it probably would have provided maybe way better results than we're currently experiencing at the moment.
The truth of the matter is that election is in phases. Life itself is in phases. Thankfully, these things don't have statute of limitation, meaning that, you can only prosecute within 6 months. Take, for instance, should I contest for an election now and know too that, I managed to somehow win the election, like maybe in the past, and now I am in charge of that particular office. Won't I go after those who stole my victory the other time? I'm not sure if you're getting me, please. I contested 4 years ago. The people who voted for me, I won. But there was an abracadabra that said, I didn't win then. And now, by providence, I happen to be in that office. Won't I ask questions? So let's have the law. Even if it's not going to be aggressively implemented initially, let there be that arrangement. Should there be that arrangement on the ground, that legal arrangement, people are still going to be conscious of the fact that what if tomorrow something happens? If it's not going to be this guy directly, maybe somebody who feels like, I voted for this guy, you cheated him, and I want to fight for his cause. So let's just have that arrangement on the ground first. I'm not going to speak against the arrangement. I love the arrangement. I am not particularly optimistic that it's going to go from 0 to 100 kilometers. That is going to go from 0 to 100 in a flash. But at least let us have it.
There's this story on the foreign scene still concerning Nigeria. A 37-year-old man, Osina Chukwu Onu, has been shot dead on the 12 highway in northwest province of South Africa, allegedly by the police officers during a traffic operation in South Africa. It's in the news, in fact, on the front page of the Punch for today. Confirming the development, the Northwest Police said the officers aged between 25 and 36 were arrested on Wednesday, and they were reportedly flee the scene following the shooting, but were later tracked down by the detectives.
How do you shoot someone over it? Let's even, there is not to say that the guy was guilty of a traffic offense, but let's even say he was guilty. How do you shoot someone for a traffic offense? It's not making any sense. And this is not the first time this is coming from South Africa. It has been happening years after years after years. I mean, South African police, they need to do better. There are South Africans in Nigeria as well. I won't want a case of tit for tat. But should this continue to happen, who knows what tomorrow might come with. So they need to do well. I know that some of our boys are not representing well there as well. But, had it been they said, drug bust or anything like that, I wouldn't have been this vocal. But traffic offense, no, nothing justifies that.
All right, on Facebook before we go, okay, you want to say something?
All of them, I don't want to hear that they have been arrested. I want to hear that they have been prosecuted and jailed accordingly.
Adedamola Okunlola on Facebook says, beautiful morning to you. With the way some of our politicians are moving to the ruling party, it only shows that these politicians do not have the interests of the masses at heart. They're only concerned about themselves, that's their pocket. It's good to know that Governor Makinde has pledged his allegiance to stay in his party no matter the circumstances. I hope Nigeria will choose better leaders come 2027. Thank you. That's all we can take on the program this morning. Adewumi Kazim Adika says, good morning, well done from New Garage. Thank you for joining the show. Thank you so much, sir, for your time.
It is always an honor to be here, Chief.
On the program. Agbeya Wiri Agbomagbe will be live at 8 o'clock for the Yoruba version of the newspaper report. You don't want to miss that this morning. And up next is AM Sport. Have a beautiful and blessed weekend. Compliments of the season. God bless you.
Please listen to this important information. The views expressed by the interviewee in this program are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Wells Radio 89.3 FM or its affiliated entities. Wells Radio 89.3 FM is committed to providing a platform for diverse perspectives and opinions, and the views expressed by guests on our programs are their personal viewpoints. Wells Radio 89.3 FM does not endorse or take responsibility for the content or opinions expressed by individual interviewees and callers. Thank you.
Not just